Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Stylosa, and there is a brand new Helldivers 2 patch, and this is a big one. This is going to change the spawn rates of heavy enemies. So we're looking at things like Bile Titans and Chargers. This is going to have a huge impact on the game. Okay, let's break all of this down because this is spicy. This is patch 1.000102. Good day, citizens of Super Earth. A new patch to aid you in your efforts is coming. May Super Earth give you courage. Mr. Full Stop there. Overview. Today's patch is dealing with the spawn rate of heavily armored Terminid enemies, as well as the possible play against them. It also contains some fixes to UI elements and crash fixes. So the first place we begin is with the balance changes to the heavily armored enemies. Check this out. Balancing enemies. The amount of heavily armored targets that spawn on higher difficulties, especially for Terminids, have been a big discussion point online and internally. The intent is for groups to have to bring some form of anti-tank capability, but not to the degree previously needed. To that end, we have reduced the spawn rate of Chargers and Bile Titans on difficulty 7 and up. In addition, we have reduced the risk of spawn spikes of Chargers and Bile Titans. So I think this is super interesting, this idea of spawn spikes of them. I mean, we've all experienced this, right? Where one spawns, another one starts spawning, and there's just loads of them. It's like, what is going on? Unless you are focusing on taking down these heavily armored targets, then you will get swamped by them. Now, I generally play the game on 7 difficulty. And what I've noticed is when I don't take the railgun and nobody in our team really takes the railgun and they're not really focusing on taking out Bile Titans from range, you do end up having a couple of Bile Titans chasing you around the map, which isn't a great place to be. Now, of course, with the mech stratagem at the moment and everybody having the availability of one use, you do generally see people use that and just fire loads of rockets into them and probably kill them quite quick. But the fact is, if you don't take specialist anti-tank weaponry, then you will get swamped by these enemies. So I think it's quite interesting that they're reducing the spawn rate. So let me know what you guys think about this, because I think, on the one hand, it feels awesome when there's a lot of these massive enemies about, but also, on the other hand, it feels like, well, you can't really do anything if you don't have enough firepower to take them out. And like I've said in a ton of previous videos, you don't want that thing where you're just kiting away from enemies. You want to fight them and kill them, not run away. That doesn't feel very... Well, I don't think Super Earth would run away, would it? Continuing with the balance changes, please note that we have changed the distribution of enemy types, not reduced difficulty. Expect other enemy types to appear in greater numbers instead. Now, this is something I was hoping they would do, because especially Terminids, right? You want a massive wave of enemies that come at you. Yeah, a load of chaff, a load of the smaller enemies. And then the big unit is sort of the thing at the back. The Bile Titan, yeah, it's a threat, but we're also getting swamped by a load of other units. Now, actually, when we look at recent weapon buffs, things like the Flamethrower, for example, this might suddenly become super meta now, because if you're going to get flooded by a load of low sort of health enemies, it could be really powerful. Again, you're probably still going to kill your own team and kill yourself with the Flamethrower, but there's a bunch of other weapons as well that might see a power increase if we're now fighting more of the small and the medium armored enemies, and then we're only seeing heavy enemies sort of as this, like, crescendo to an attack almost, right? So there's only maybe 1 or 2 of them in play at any given time. And I'm not totally against that, to be honest, because I do like the feeling of fighting back waves of enemies. And I also really like the autocannon as well, which isn't maybe the most effective thing against heavily armored enemies. We are humbled by the community's ability to find things like Charger's leg meta in our game. However, spending your heavy anti-tank weapons on legs instead of the obvious weak points seems counter to expectation. Now, this is obviously about 2 shots into the leg. If they're really high-powered railgun shots, will kill a Charger most of the time. But, I mean, you're literally a millisecond away from killing yourself with the overcharge on the railgun if you try that. But still, any other anti-tank weapon, you're firing it into the legs because it's easier to hit instead of going for that big open, sort of the back of the carapace of the Charger. So this is what they're going to do about that. We are not changing anything regarding the Charger's legs. We are, however, lowering the health of the Charger's head. It should now be a point where a well-placed shot from a recoilless rifle or EAT-17 instantly kills a Charger. So look at that. That is, I mean, that is a redistribution of power like we haven't seen, to be honest. So me talking about the railgun, yeah, you would try and railgun these in the head, right? Take quite a few shots to kill them. Railgun Bile tines in the head is really powerful as well. Anyway, what they're saying here is, look, just use the rocket launchers, fire them straight into the head of the charger. It will instantly die. And it's quite easy to hit the charger in the head because it runs straight at you, so you can just line up and fire. So this could potentially be a massive nerf for this, but also a really big buff for anybody using the recoilless rifle, or like any of the anti-tank weapons, essentially. Together with the unfortunate undocumented change of last patch that increased the armor penetration ability of less well-placed shots for EAT-17s and recoilless rifle shots, charges should now be easier to handle by well-equipped groups. So moving on to some gameplay changes. Electronic Countermeasures, the operation modifier, which has a chance of giving you a random stratagem instead of the one you input, has been removed in order to be reworked, and will be reintroduced in a future iteration. We found that this modifier wasn't communicated clearly enough and overall caused more frustration than excitement with the way it was currently implemented. This change was made in 1.0.0.1.0.0, this is the patch before, but was unintentionally omitted from the patch notes. So, okay, a little bit of an update there with electronic countermeasures. It's going to come back at some point, but it will be something completely different, and it won't just be the random stratagem swapping operation modifier that it was. So I suppose that's good news, because random stuff like that, it's never great, is it? You know, you want to take your loadout, you selected your loadout, and then, oh, by the way, that 500 kilogram bomb you took, no, it's been replaced by anti-personnel mines, which, to be fair, wouldn't be too bad. But it's no 500 kilogram bomb, is it? No. Then moving on to some fixes. So they've fixed missing text on several HUD and UI elements, fixed several subtitle and voiceover mismatches in the news videos, and fixed various crashes that occurred mid-gameplay when deploying to missions. Now, yeah, there's not much detail here on these fixes. I hope that we get, well, we need more fixes for the end of missions. I don't know what it is, but I still crash quite a lot at the end of missions. And it's not even like the game, well, the game does crash, but you can hear the audio, but when this happens to me anyway, where it'll say like, so-and-so has left the squad. It's like, what? Hang on a minute, and then the game just freezes and then it ends. It's so frustrating. They've got to get that out of the game, because, you know, out of all the missions I've played, maybe I've had 5 or 6 that have crashed, you know, out of hundreds. So it might not sound that bad on paper, but when it happens, you really remember it, because, you know, you've put in all that effort to complete a mission and it crashes. So yeah, we need more crash fixes, so hopefully they'll come soon. Now moving on to known issues. So these are problems in the game that are still in the game. Game crashes when attempting to use a stim while inside an exosuit, so don't do that. Ping artifacts may appear in the sky when setting off large explosions. That's some sort of an issue with the graphics engine there, when you're detonating a massive explosion, which might have been the reason why I got kicked in my most recent game. I got kicked because I dropped a 500 kilogram bomb, and then, I didn't get kicked, the game crashed. I should say the game just ended. Automaton dropship seemingly disappears and slides in after being shot down. Yep, that happens a lot, and it really looks odd. Because, I mean, if I like using the recoilless rifle to blow up the engines on the dropships, but yeah, they just sort of disappear, then slide in. Looks odd after the shot connects. Shots from arc-based weapons may not count towards kills in post-mission stats. So all the arc thrower abusers out there are not getting any stats. Players cannot unfriend other players befriended via friend code. That's been an issue for a while, that one. Cross-platform friend invites might not show up in the friend request tab. Players may be unable to select loadout or return to ship when joining a multiplayer game session via PS5 activity card. The exosuit can destroy itself with rockets if it fires wide turning, and yes, this has happened to me a load, and it is so frustrating, especially when you drop it down and you're being swarmed by like terminids, and you jump into it and you want to quickly turn and fire a rocket, and then you just explode. It's like, what? It is so frustrating. Anyway, text chat box displays obstructed by the cinematic letterbox during extraction. Release Captain Karlberg out. So there we go. Those are the changes that have just hit the game, or going to hit the game in this patch. Yeah, this is the aforementioned balance changes to enemy spawns. Now, this could be really, really cool, right? And I'm looking forward to this because, yeah, the big enemies, they are, you know, they're cool to see them walking around on the map. But honestly, I have more fun just destroying wave after wave after wave of smaller enemies. Now, it depends what we're going to see. We could see an absolute legion of hunters spawn, and then everybody will be moaning, going, there's too many hunters, I'm getting killed. Because hunters do like to do that old double tap, where they get up to you, one hunter slashes you, and another one, it staggers you, and another one jumps on you, and then you're dead. It is kind of frustrating when that happens, especially when they catch you off guard. But this could also mean a lot of weapons that were maybe looked down upon are now going to be a lot more powerful, because you are going to need more of that medium kind of damage, that AoE damage, that explosive damage to take out a ton of these enemies. And it might mean that my favorite, the autocannon, is going to be even more of a deadly weapon, because you don't want to get swamped. And it might also mean things like machine gun become a lot more prevalent, because the machine gun, the heavy machine gun, is actually quite a nice little stratagem to use, but it's just not effective at all on higher difficulties when you're just getting swamped by enemies. It's just not even useful against. You may as well take the railgun at that point, so it kind of defeats the object of it. But still, this is really interesting to see. The big takeaways here are, like I said, heavy enemy spawn rates are reducing. Other enemies will be spawning in their way, in their stead, I guess, but in higher numbers. Things like the recoilless rifle and the anti-tank rocket launchers, they are just going to do tons of damage to charges. If you shoot them in the head, they will die off one shot, which is massively powerful. And yeah, I think this is quite an interesting one, guys. As ever, I will do my best to keep you updated with all of the changes coming to Helldivers 2. Thank you for watching the video, and do leave a comment and do like the video if you did enjoy the stuff, because it really helps the channel and the videos and everything when it comes to YouTube. And as ever, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next video. See you soon.